G'day guys and welcome to GMing Advice with Ask A Pathfinder. Today we're going to be looking at some of the basics of what makes a good GM. Let's start, of course, with what is a GM, because they're not too dissimilar, these two topics. A GM is someone who literally stands in front of a group of people and using the rules of the game and their imagination and amazing linguistic skills are able to compel his party to believe themselves to be in a fantasy world where they are the heroes among their own story as they go through this journey of discovery and adventure, with the GM controlling the NPCs, the places, the descriptions, and of course the obstacles and challenges that they face. This is what is a GM, in terms of just a pure bone definition. But that being said, I think there's so much more to it. I think there is so much more to being a GM than simply the book definition. I think every GM comes down to being the person responsible for three things. Thing one, the host. A GM is responsible for being a great host. They are the person who, the group is centered around. You are the center stage person. You are there to facilitate fun. That is literally the role of a game master. But does this mean you have to only do it at the table? Well, no. I mean, I've found some of the most enjoyable experiences being a GM when I put music on in the background. Like, I'll start every game, if I can, with tavern music playing in the back. I have drinks laid out for everyone in goblets, that I've just bought from like a $2 shop. And I've got the map laid out, I've got the GM screen laid out, and so when people walk into my game, they're instantly like, wow, this is so cool, I'm so excited, I'm so enthusiastic, oh my god, yes, I can't wait, again, yeah, they kind of get that excited, or at least one guy gets this excited. If you're watching, I know you know who you are. Yeah, that is being a good host. Being entertaining. So when you're at the table, don't sit there like this, don't, just your body language needs to not be kind of like, okay, it's just listening, waiting for you guys to have your turn. Again, body language is so important, and being a good host is about being the most, if not the second most, energetic and excited person at your table. The second task, or the second responsibility, the thing of the second, is being a good moderator. Now, a lot of people are of differing minds of this. I'm only going to be expressing my opinion on this. It's not the only one. There are out there, and I'm sure you'll find them. But a moderator is someone who is not only obsessed with following the strict reader's written rules. They are the person who adjudicates fair rules. Now, sometimes this means, yes, absolutely, for 90% of the stuff you do, follow the raw rules, read up and be familiar with the rules. But there are some incidents where that's just not going to work. There's some situations where your players will go on some wild, wacky adventure and something will happen that just aren't rules for. You as an adjudicator need to be able to adapt to those situations and bend, twist, even break rules in order to allow them to facilitate what they want to do. Because there's nothing more sad than having all the creativity and power of the imagination and being stopped by simply saying, well, there are no rules for this, and because I can't really make up anything on the spot, you can't do it. And it's like, oh, but all I wanted to do was like jump over this person and then attack him from the back. It's like, well, I know that it's kind of hard, but my character's a frog person. Why can't I do that? It's like, well, okay, that's a bad example because there are rules for doing that. But, being familiar with the rules and being able to kind of adjust them is the role of an adjudicator. The third is being a good storyteller. Now, being a good storyteller isn't just about sort of going, okay, cool, I've picked up a module off the shelf and I can read it and I am very eloquent and I can speak in a very ancient accent and make sure that people understand that we are, in fact, in yesteryear. No, it's not about that. It's about being able to understand and almost see the patterns in your story. So if you see your players kind of going, oh god, another, undead fight, we fought so many of these already, then maybe it's time to shake things up. That's what a good storyteller is able to do, is read the table and manipulate the story accordingly. There also, the accents don't hurt. You know, being a good storyteller is also about immersing your players. So getting into a point where you are, you know, putting on accents so that your dwarf who's at the bar, you know, when people walk in, you know, they ask me, you know, can I have a pint of ale? And I tell them, well, we don't sell that wheat stuff here. We only sell proud dwarven brews. And you know, except, you know, these little things make a game and make it more enjoyable. People are more likely to engage you and your characters and your world if there is effort on your part to build up that story and build up that setting. Now, I've gone over these 3 things now, and I want to go through them again. So we got hosting, moderating, and of course storytelling. And every GM has these 3 things in varying degrees, right? Some GMs may be really great storytellers, but know bugger all about the rules. And they do, probably the single thing that annoys me the most is they don't read the rules, they're not competent with it, but they just make stuff up. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to have a bad time. It means that, you know, that means that the group might enjoy that kind of gameplay. Or it might be that the GM is simply very, very, very casual about it, which is also fine. There's so many different ways to play. Same thing if someone is very, very rules heavy but knows absolutely nothing about a story. He pulls a book off a shelf and says, and then the goblin sprang into action, attacking the person on the left. Yep, he rolled a 7. What did you get? You know, that may be how some people play, and that's fine as well. The more interesting one, or the most interesting type, is if you are a really great host, but you can't tell a story and you don't know the rules. At that point, I mean, I feel like, you know, well, good on you. You know, you're a likable person, and there are people gathering around you who, you know, are just there because you're fun. So yeah, that's kind of cool. But yes, these 3 things, in varying degrees, everyone has. I've got to say, I'm definitely in the category of the storytelling GM. I love a good story, and all my characters, doesn't matter how big or how small, have rich and vibrant histories that I'm very willing to discuss with you. You know, but yes, when it comes to the rules, I'm a little bit more relaxed. While I know the rules, and I do advocate knowing the rules before you know, sort of break and change the rules. I do keep rather fluid, you know, so I don't tell my players, don't look at your sheets when you tell me what you're doing. Just tell me what you want to do. I want to cast a spell at someone. Okay, cool. So what spell do you want to cast? I want to cast Magic Missile. And I said, good. All right, tell me how your character casts Magic Missile. And he's like, well, I raise my hands in the air. I'm like, yes! As you raise your hands into the air, the eldritch energies surge through your forearms, coalescing in your fingertips as these tiny orbs. And, you know, like, I build. I love that. That's, you know, sorry, I should stop. I should stop ranting. Yes, this is kind of in my mind what kind of GM I am. But that may not necessarily be the best kind of GM for you as a player. So, you know, you got to find the right GM for the right table, and then you're all good. Okay, so with the last couple of minutes that I've got, the last thing I want to really touch on in terms of a GM, what is a GM and what is their responsibilities and all of that sort of stuff, is that a GM is not isolated from the enjoyment. A lot of people think that a GM is simply there to facilitate the players, but they're not. They are also there to have fun. They are GMing because that's how they have fun. They enjoy you having fun. They enjoy you being a part of this story and this adventure. And it never hurts to say thank you to your GM, because a lot of effort does go into it. A lot of effort goes into the prep work, the, you know, performance of it all. And, you know, like, yeah, sometimes if you see a player and they're not engaged, you might not think it affects your GM, but it does. You know, it doesn't necessarily, you know, show, you know, openly, because, you know, some of us are really, really, you know, tough men and women who don't show our emotions, and we just, you know, no, we're fine, you just had a bad game, all right, well, you've had a bad game. Secretly, we'll walk behind the counter and be like, why didn't he like my NPC? Whatever the case may be, you know, say thanks when you've had a good game, or compliment your GM. Feedback is always amazing, and it is a very sure way to ensure that your GM loves it so much that they will GM the next time. Alright guys, well that's our time. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you liked this video, hit that like button. If you want, subscribe to Ask A Pathfinder, and you will get tons and tons of videos, you know, weekly. giving you advice on this sort of stuff, being a player as well, and more stuff that I'm just going to be throwing out there. If you want advice and stuff like that, Ask a Pathfinder has a free coaching service on Facebook and on Discord. You can find the links in the descriptions below. And if you are a charming and cheeky goblin, you can go and help us out on our Patreon, which will also be in the link below, to try and help us make sure that these videos, keep coming out or grow in quality and add extra stuff. So thank you very much, guys, and remember, whenever you need advice, whenever you need help, keep calm and ask a Pathfinder. Have a good one.